So here we are. Welcome to the UnLearn show, where we talk about breaking bad habits with a purpose. You may not have seen us for some time because we've actually been quite busy in our own personal and professional lives, but we're here to tell you just a little bit about what we've been up to, and we're sorry that we haven't been in front of you more often. So thanks for your patience.
So, what I have been up to, um, yeah, I mean, there's just a lot. I mean, everything as far, I've just been working on my companies, and I've been working on a nonprofit, and life besides that was happening. It got like really, really crazy for a few months as far as just with my personal life. And so trying to navigate growing a business has been really interesting. So it's been nice to like take a step back and like to not feel like I have to do so many things, and to be able to get some perspective. Like, these are the things that I get to do, because it's very difficult when you're trying to, have a family and have these relationships, and have multiple companies that you are stupid for like working on at the same time. I'm like, don't like do that. Just pick one thing, and then like go from there. So that's what I've been doing. I've been running around like a crazy person. And I think the past couple of days is the first time that I feel like I can breathe again, so here we are.
Yeah. I guess for me, really, I'm sure some people have noticed that I kind of took a big step away from LinkedIn and from really social media on a whole, because it was just kind of starting to get very, very overwhelming for me. And it felt like more of an obligation that was taking me away from some of the things that I actually needed to focus on, to really be good in the career that pays me, and be good as a mother, and, as a person in a relationship and in a family, and everything like that. So, yeah, I really kind of just started working a lot on myself, and a lot on, just getting good, kind of like what Katie said, getting good at the things that I already had irons in the fire for. And really started to rearrange priorities, and think about it from that point of view. So
I love the flow of everything. If everybody's path seems to be, it's kind of a mess, which is totally okay, right? Is learn, right? Or unlearn so many different things. Mine, I've had that crazy experience of trying to be an entrepreneur and putting all of my eggs in one basket, and sending my son away on weekends to build a business that completely collapsed. So that was a big learning lesson, but also that opportunity to really focus on what matters most, which is family and health. So I'm going to be taking that extra free time, which really isn't free, and being, the mom that my son deserves and that I want to be. So also killing my medical debt is really a big goal, because I've realized it's been holding me back from so much. So much. It's crazy how much money has a hold of you when you really look at it. And it's also the reason why I'm going to be starting a nonprofit in 2019 for medical debt, since it's the #1 cause of bankruptcy in the United States. So yeah, that's kind of a catch up on my world.
Well, some of you probably know that Sunny and I had met last year, and became fast friends, and decided we wanted to start a business, and kind of all in the same time around UnLearn. And so he and I were building and growing and learning from each other, and unlearning some things that we probably knew we shouldn't have done and did them anyway, and learned some new things that we didn't know that we shouldn't have done or should have done. And so doing that cross country digitally had its challenges, and it's also really cool moments, just to be able to sit on video and be in the same room, but not in the same room with a buddy. And so that's has been a big part of the year. And then also, I've had some really strange relationships due to finances, just like you said, Chantel. It's a huge strain on lots of people, and so I'm actually right in the thick of that right now, and really trying to work out on top of the entrepreneurial stuff, how that affects my relationships and my family and my kids and my wife and all the different things that go along with that. And being in a career change myself, leaving a steady job and a steady paycheck after years and years, and trying to pursue something I feel like I'm built for, which is helping people with a cause, helping them have more impact on the people they love. And then really wanting to help those people with the experience that I gained in those past jobs, but doing it in a way that honors my family, honors finances, honors prior commitments and priorities that have been there for years, and to not just give up on those because something else inspiring has come along. So that there's been a lot of gut wrenching decisions and conversations, kind of like Katie had said, having conversations that probably should have been had years ago with lots of different people this year. Kind of feels like a good summer for us, and I want to continue to go because it's a big part of unlearning and growth is having tough conversations and making sure that the people that you love and care about know that you love and you care about them and why that is. So kind of where I've been this year.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with everything that everybody is saying here. I think the biggest challenge that I've had is getting to know each and every one of you so closely that it's tough. Because as Jake mentioned, we went from being friends to professionals, launching a consulting company together, and we have to pivot very quickly because it's the right thing to do, both personally and professionally for him, for his family, for me, for my family. And, I love it because, and I'll share this with Jake is, part of the messaging and whenever we talk now, this isn't the end. There's still more to come, right? But it's that thing where you have to do what's right for the things that you have to chase in the moment. And so I love the fact that we're able to make that decision together. And for me, I left corporate America, I made that launch and that leap, and I wouldn't change it because it's connected me to so many other wonderful, both professionals and people around the world. And, the big news for me is I had the chance to finish my first book and launch it. And I've turned the videos that I create on LinkedIn to a children's book. And it's the first one. So now I'm like, well, gosh, I've done it now. So I got to keep going with it. And so, 2019 is extremely exciting for me. But what's even better is now we have this chance to share it with the entire community because we were always so, the co-hosts and myself, we were always so much about pulling information from other people. We wanted to actually share with you what our real lives look like as well. And so it is the UnLearn show. And so each one of us is going to talk about just something that we've either unlearned or something that, as time has passed and what we want to do for 2019. So, for each one of you, what is something that you've unlearned, in this 2018? Let's not even go any further back than that. 2018, what's one thing you've unlearned that you want to take into 2019? And I see Katie, I see you kind of smiling. You look like you've already got something queued up and teed up to go.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. So like to preface this, I did this project that like I didn't really tell anybody about. But we always talk about like living like we're dying. And like, I read about how Kevin Kelly, from Wired magazine, like lived like he had 6 months. He was like given this assignment to like live like he had 6 months to live. And he like really did, like he gave away like all of his money, like he wrote his will, like all of these things. And so like, I just finished that on December 3rd and it was like it makes me want to cry. Because like, it was really powerful, like going through and like everything that I, have been unlearning this year has been around like not, like seeking validation from others and to really recognize my motives in everything that I do. And like, as far as with like the work that I do, and like from social media, and like the need to like have that from my partner and my family and from everyone around me. And for like the first time in my life, I feel like I'm free of that. And I feel, so so long story short, that's what I've been unlearning is that I don't need validation from others, that like I'm very secure in the things that I do. And the reason why I do the things that I do is because I want to do them, because I love to do them, and because I can't think of anything else that I would rather do. And so like, yeah, it just forced me to get very intentional. And like, that's why I'm so excited to go into 2019, even just hell to finish out 2018, because like it literally felt like there was like a weight that was lifted off of me. And it was really funny because like after like, so December 3rd, and then I think like a couple days later, I had an event, and I was speaking on a panel, and one guy who didn't know me, who didn't know the UnLearn show, he was like, what's one thing that you've unlearned this year? And he was like, here, let me explain what I mean. And I was like, no, I know what you mean by unlearn. Like, let me tell you. So yeah, that's what I've been unlearning.
Yeah, that's I guess I'll kind of piggyback on that, because I think I've been attempting to unlearn a lot of the same things around validation and really doing things, because it's hard when you, and I know that a lot of you feel like this, but you feel like you're meant for something bigger, right? So like you're just trying to like figure out what exactly that is and how that looks and what the process looks like. And the mistakes that I have made a lot in the last year and really throughout my life is following either others' paths or using what I think is their expectations of me to drive myself. So like, I don't ever factor myself in necessarily. It's always, okay, well, what would this person want me to do? Or what would not be disappointing for whoever I'm thinking of at that point? And so it's really taken stripping everything back, and I'm still not there yet. I still haven't figured out exactly how to do this easily, but like stripping everything back, because everything that I was doing at the moment was built on fear. So it was built on, okay, well, I've already like built this up. Like if I stop doing this, then what happens? Or, so just addressing that fear and being like, okay, no, just you take a step back and you erase everything and start with a clean slate and figure out where the hell you're going, because this is ridiculous. Like at this point, you're just like throwing things against a wall and it doesn't work, and it's not working. And so I've been dealing a lot with that, with really only factoring in my own expectations for myself as far as how I'm going to move forward in 2019 or forever, really. So
It's so easy to let that stuff affect you when you're so community minded, like Katie and her seeking validation, and Lacey, you dealing with, everyone else around you. I feel like I am kind of a hybrid of that, where it's almost feeling like always putting myself last and putting everybody else first. And it wasn't until this year that I really started to unlearn the idea of being like self-insignificance. I always felt so small, kind of the opposite of you, Lacey, where I never felt like I was meant for anything big. And it really took unlearning that everybody's meant for greatness. Everybody is, and it's built in the community around us. So instead of putting myself last, I try to put myself in the same playing field as everybody else, knowing that everybody has superpowers. Everybody has something that they're meant for, to build greatness into the community around us. So kind of a, sorry, that's the one thing. And I can't take you seriously wearing a naughty hat, Sonny.
Yeah, so now that we have nice on the screen, I can concentrate. Thank you, Sonny. So I would say, that I probably focused on fear a whole lot. because I was always a really skinny, small kid growing up and was always looking for ways to prove myself. And so this past year, I really kind of similarly have this story of who I am that's built in, and that I don't have to be who everyone else says I am, even though I might be particularly good at one area of it, but that there is a superpower. You're built a certain way. There are certain things that you are really good at naturally that you don't have to apologize for. And then there's a lot of fear about what people think of you when you don't live up to that expectation, whether it's your parents or your longtime friends or different things like that. That it's okay to step back and be afraid and to make a decision anyway, and to say, I've always been this. I feel like I was built for this thing, but that might not be true. That might be something that you took up, like as a head of a household, I took up to make money for my family, or as a longtime friend who grew up one way, I have to be this because this is what I've always been. And so that's not true, because you're so many different things. We're all just like this kaleidoscope of all these amazing, cool things. But there are certain things that you have to dig down and find, I think, that are the basis and the foundation of what you are made up of. And for me, if you're not in that, then you're fighting against the waves. You're not rolling with the waves. And so while sure you can do a lot of things, I think you were meant for a couple things specifically. And everyone has a different version of that for themselves. And so, and kind of specifically the practical part of that came out of that was, you really are, your actions prove what you believe. So if you don't do the things that you say you believe, you don't really believe it. And so unless you're willing to step out into that, it's just talk. And so that's really hit me hard this year. And so I want to continue to step in and continue to unlearn other people's expectations into the things I say I believe, act on, because that's actually who you are in that moment, is what you do. So that's been a really hard lesson in a lot of areas of my life, but it's also been extremely like a fire through a forest, kind of cleansing out a whole bunch of really old, nasty stuff. So.
I think a combination of everything that everyone has said, like fear, action, I think comfort. Those are the three big things for me that I've had to unlearn, is that just everybody fears something, and everybody fears something in a different manner. And so just because I approach something in a certain way doesn't mean that the other people can see it in a term of perspective in the way that I see it. So I think I've had to speed up my process of unlearning that, and this show is a perfect example of it, is that we all operate on so many different levels, like Jake said, like a kaleidoscope of colors, but we all have like this core within the five of us that is just so similar. And I don't think there's a word for it. I don't think there's a name for it. It's just, we just have this core sense of being, where we know that we have to continue to evolve and we have to continue to transform. And it's just, my period of unlearning is overcoming that fear, not showing actions, or, not showing inactivity, and then having the courage to actually do something about it. That is what I've had to unlearn, is that it's okay. It's okay to have all of those things and then to do something about it. And I think a couple of us have all said that, not worried about validation from other people. Yeah, it's important to hear that people like what we're doing or say what they're doing, and there's always going to be critics, but at the end of the day, are we chasing what we really want to chase? So are we saying what we want to do and then taking action behind it and actually chasing after it? And so for the last couple of minutes here of the show, each one of us wants to just talk real quickly about 2019. We would love for the community to know that UnLearn show is going to be coming back with something a little bit different and a little bit more. I think Jake said this earlier, we've kind of morphed as we continue to go. And it's so amazing. We've only been doing this for 1 year. This is the end of season 2. We only started this year, and we've come so far. And so, I want to go around and just ask each person for 2019, and it doesn't have to do with the show, but if there's one thing that each one of us wants our community members to know about, either us, what we're going to do, or just something to inspire you for 2019, I'd love for us to wrap it up to say, what is one thing that we can share with our community that we want them to do in 2019?
I think what I would say is, I mean, and this is kind of what I've said before, but really focus on not making and something about anybody else. Like it should be about you, and it should come from you, and it doesn't have to do with anything. It doesn't have to do with anybody else. Your life doesn't. Your life choices, it's all you.
I was thinking along the same lines. I was like, I think 2019 will be the year of like introspection and becoming like everyone becoming very conscious and aware of like how their actions affect everyone around them, and like to yeah, I think 2019 will be a very conscious year, and so introspection is key.
Wow. Gosh, I agree. I think that I need to think of something really fast. Chantal, think of something different. Um, besides the community-minded aspects, or really reflecting, doing those reflective pieces and thinking about what you really need to unlearn. I think it's important to put yourself and your friends and your family and your community all in the same playing field, not being biased, not being like retraining your thought process to be more inclusive and more open to people. So before the reflection phase hits, it's the being more open to everybody and everything around you, your environment, your circumstances, everything, so that it can't limit you.
Yeah, I would say for people to focus on the impact they want to make this year, and some of the things that they've just said, by being reflective, by being open to what's going on around you, by thinking about what yourself and what you're built to do, because when we focus on things that are of value to us, and that's where we concentrate our time and efforts and resources, then we can actually do something impactful with our days. So I'm hoping more of that happens this year.